All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Final Bell. As always, Jason and Marty here. Um, so we are going to be starting off with Impact Wrestling as well as AEW Dynamite and Rampage. But we thought we'd talk about a little other news. Survivor Series is going to have a little bit of a twist this year. So they are going to be finally incorporating the War Games into the main roster, which is going to be interesting to note what factions or what groups are going to go up against each other. I'm thinking it's going to probably involve the Judgment Day and maybe. Honestly, I would be okay with seeing like the Judgment Day against like the Bloodline or something like that, or
doesn't make sense in a storyline.
I don't know. I mean,
because it's Triple H had said that it's storyline driven and like it will follow like the current storylines. So maybe it'll be the Judgment Day against like potentially like Ray, Edge, and then like two other people potentially.
Right. Well, the problem
somebody
is
did mention that like throwing Beth Phoenix in there to have go up against Rhea Ripley.
That'd be something.
So, I mean, and then that would be the male, and then the female would be probably Damage Control versus Bianca's little like
right,
because you'd essentially have but somebody, yeah, because they were hinting at apparently Candice LeRae would join Damage Control, and then on the other side it would be Bianca, Alexa, and then like two other people, one of which being a debuting on the main roster, Indy Hartwell. I could see that playing into a storyline.
Who knows? I mean, but I still think it's very cool to see War Games and Survivor Series. Yes. It's a Survivor Series traditional 5-on-5 tag matches. It's going to be War Games in itself.
Yeah.
Now, the real question is, do you see this being a traditional thing for Survivor Series going forward? So. Or do you think that, War Games is just like a one and done thing for Survivor Series? So they're going to go back to what they did before?
No, not at all. I think that going forward, War Games is going to be the new tradition.
How about this? Why can't they just get rid of Survivor Series as the name of the pay-per-view going forward and just call it War Games? Like WWE War Games instead.
Like it wouldn't be as marketable, if you ask me. And even then, Survivor Series is already a household name.
And Hell in a Cell is very marketable of a pay-per-view?
Well, that's,
or Extreme Rules, I mean.
Well, but see, the reason, that's the entire reason why when they got moved up to the main roster, you couldn't call them the War Raiders. So, because war is in the name, and war, doesn't really like. You gotta think of like sponsors and everything, because WWE is a global brand. So, having a pay-per-view called WWE War Games wouldn't really like. I mean, to be fair, there have been NXT Takeover War Games, but that, like I said, that's different because, NXT not really viewed by a lot of people, or at least like for a good amount of time, it was on like the network and eventually then now Peacock. So it was different. But this is the main roster. You have Survivor Series, like, so, but to your point earlier, I think War Games...
It's kind of crazy what Survivor Series has truly had over the years. I mean, of course, the traditional 5-on-5. Well, I've also hosted a very first Elimination Chamber match back in 2002. Now, it's adding on War Games for the first time in WWE history.
At least on the main roster.
Yes, on the main roster. That's what. Well, I said Survivor Series, so it was kind of referring to the main roster itself. But I just think that like WWE just keeps on breaking barriers with
Yeah,
what Survivor Series has. It makes you almost wonder like what is next for Survivor Series to have. I mean, that is going to be revolutionizing like just the pay per view in itself because you had Elimination Chamber, you have the traditional 5-on-5 tag matches. I would think that that's not going to be the case. I don't think they're going to have those traditional
no, I think
women's
War
or
Games.
men's.
I think War Games is going to replace the like 5-on-5,
Right. So
which I mean that's okay with me because not for nothing the 5-on-5 thing was so dated anyways.
right, it was time for a change, and
It
I'm
you know
grateful that WWE is changing a few things here.
yeah
But as that is just it for at least the WWE talk, we were going to be going into Impact.
yes.
Uh,
So Victory Road was this past Friday. So and by the time that this video will come out, it will be officially 1 week away from Bound for Glory,
mm,
which I have notes here for this upcoming taping of Impact, which would have already happened, but I'm not going to be talking about that for next week. Actually, no. No, next week's show I'm actually going to be talking about Bound for Glory. So I'm not, or no, no, next week's show I will talk about this show. But the week after I will be talking about Bound for Glory. So don't mind me, I was a little confused. So, but yes, so in 2 weeks from this episode will be Bound for Glory. But before we get to Bound for Glory, we have to make a stop on the Victory Road. First, we have the countdown. We had 2 matches on the countdown. The first of which being a 6-man tag between Bullet Club, where we saw Ace Austin, Juice Robinson, and Chris Bay taking on 3 guys that are kind of like not too well known in Impact. One of which being, I believe, the gut check like signee. I don't know if it was Jason Hotch or Jack Price, but it definitely wasn't Shogun. Either way, Bullet Club beat Jason Hotch, Shogun, and Jack Price. And then again on the countdown, which I mean is a little sad that it got relegated to the countdown, but regardless, we got it on the card for Victory Road anyways. Um, so Killer Kelly took on Tasha Steelz, but Killer Kelly got disqualified after choking out Tasha with a steel chain.
hmm.
That's the countdown. Now we start the main card of Victory Road with a bang. Because, like, what a way to open Victory Road. The X Division Championship was on the line. Speedball Mike Bailey took on the famed veteran from Ring of Honor, Delirious. He was a booker. He was a wrestler. He did it all in Ring of Honor. Now he was there in Impact Wrestling to attempt to take the X Division title off of Speedball Mike Bailey. But Delirious could not get it done. Speedball beats Delirious to kick off Victory Road with a bang, like I said, retaining the X Division title, going into Bound for Glory with that title, and we will get into Victory Road later on, and it will determine who will face Speedball Mike Bailey in Albany at Bound for Glory. But before we get there, we have a few matches. So, first of which being a tag team match between the Motor City Machine Guns and Honor No More's PCO and Vincent, which it's interesting that I even say that still, because as of late, PCO and Vincent have been showing signs that they're starting to branch off from Honor No More, and Honor No More may be branching off from PCO and Vincent. So, but regardless, the tag team match, the Machine Guns beat Honor No More's PCO and Vincent. Then she's still on her last rodeo, folks. Mickie James went up against Gazelle Shaw. And remember, folks, if Mickie James loses her next match, she's done. So it's very possible that before Bound for Glory, she could have retired. But in this case, she did not. She beat Gazelle Shaw. She's still going. She is still, like I said, it's her last rodeo. Her last match could very well be sooner than you think. But regardless, then we have the triple threat revolver match, which it's a bit of a complicated way of like how to describe it. So three men start in the ring, and it's basically an elimination style like way of how they go about it. So there's about 7 competitors, like 6 or 7, maybe 8 competitors that are all all together in the match. And you start with 3. It's elimination style, so like pretty much whoever gets eliminated throughout the entire match until the last 3, you know, it's elimination style until the last 3 participants, and then once you get down to the last 3, it's a regular triple threat match. And so everybody was getting run through. Even Mia Yim participated in this triple threat revolver, but she didn't last too long before I believe she got eliminated by Kenny King. I could be wrong. Either way, the triple threat revolver went a very long time up until the very last moment. Frankie Kazarian was part of the triple threat revolver. He lasted until the end, and he actually won. So, ladies and gentlemen, we now it is official. In Albany, at Bound for Glory, Frankie Kazarian will challenge Speedball Mike Bailey for the X Division Championship. The last time that Frankie Kazarian has ever challenged for the X Division Championship since, I believe they said 2014. That is how long it has been since Frankie Kazarian has challenged for the X Division title. And it's about the same amount of that's about the same amount of time that like Frankie Kazarian has relatively been gone from Impact Wrestling, because I believe before then he was kind of doing some things here and there in Ring of Honor with Christopher Daniels. I could be wrong, but either way, Frankie Kazarian has bounced around a lot of companies. And also at Bound for Glory, we now know that it will be the team of Taya Valkyrie and Jessica versus Vexed. And I believe that match is for the Knockouts tag team titles. I could be wrong. Then here's a shocker. Bobby Fish shows up at Victory Road and seems to be hinting at wanting to work with some talent, which prompts Raj Singh and Shira to come out. Could we see a match between these two, meaning Bobby Fish versus potentially Raj Singh or Shira?
Could happen.
It might even happen on this episode of Impact This Week that I will be talking about next week. It's very possible. Don't really know. Either way, Next up, we have another six-man tag, although this one is on the main card, not on the countdown. Honor No More, so that is Eddie Edwards and the OGK, beat Josh Alexander, Rich Swann, and Heath. So Heath has been a thorn in the side of Honor No More for like the past few months now. And he is not stopping until he basically makes sure that Honor No More will no longer be a threat to Impact Wrestling or to Heath in general. Then we get backstage, and so I have this in my notes. I say Mia Yim and Mickie James at Bound for Glory ? And we now know it is official. Yes, at Bound for Glory, Mia Yim will face Mickie James. So there is that. And next we have a Pick Your Poison match. So for this week, this upcoming week, Masha gets an opponent of Jordan's choosing, but at Victory Road, Jordan Grace got an opponent of Masha Slamovich's choosing. Masha Slamovich has chosen Max the Impaler, the non-binary nightmare, for Jordan Grace. It was non-title, which I guess kind of works, but at the same time, it's like, I don't see really why they couldn't have put the title on the line. I mean, granted, yeah, like Max the Impaler doesn't really work for Impact Wrestling, but at the same time, it's like, kind of up the ante a little bit, put the Knockouts title on the line, really like stack the deck on against Jordan Grace to have Jordan overcome the odds to retain her Knockout title. But regardless, Jordan Grace did overcome the odds. She beat Max the Impaler in that Pick Your Poison match, which means that this week on Impact, Masha Slamovich will face Allie Ketch in a Monsters Ball match. For those that don't know, I actually didn't realize it until just recently. Allie Ketch is in a tag team with the oh so popular Effie. And for those that don't know Effie, he is a very openly gay independent wrestler, and the team of Allie Ketch and Effie is a tag team called Bussy. Either it's Bussy or Bussy. It's uh, viewer discretion is advised when I say this, but it's basically it basically means butt pussy. So that's the name of Allie Ketch and Effie's team. And so Allie Ketch will face Masha Slamovich in a Monsters Ball match, which will be interesting to say the least. We find out who the next inductee into the Impact Hall of Fame will be. They announced that, and they have like the celebration ceremony, whatever you want to call it, usually at Bound for Glory. But we find out that Raven will be the next inductee into the Impact Hall of Fame. Well deserved for Raven. He is absolutely a legend of NWA TNA / Impact Wrestling. So very well deserved for Raven.
So Raven's going to be Bound for Glory, taking his Hall of Fame induction?
I think so. I'm not too sure how the Hall of Fame thing works, but it's safe to say that Raven will come out and just have a little. I'm not too sure though, but needless to say, Raven is inducted or will be inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame. Very well deserved. It's just a little sad that he couldn't be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, But to be fair, it would probably, he hasn't really done anything too noteworthy in WWE. No offense to Raven, but like his WWE career isn't as memorable as say like his um, TNA career. So then we get to the main event, Barbed Wire Massacre, and boy, was it a damn massacre. Steve Macklin versus Moose versus Sammy Callahan. What a hell of a freaking match, too. Because, there was a lot of barbed wire, all right. So, but ultimately, in the end, proving that he has been in this, that it is the perfect environment for him, as he had to deal with it on the battlefield. Steve Macklin was able to beat Moose and Sammy Callahan in Barbed Wire Massacre. Wow. So that is Victory Road, and that is Impact for the week. Now we'll get on to AEW Dynamite and Rampage.
What a Dynamite Rampage. Grand Slam from Arthur Ashe Stadium. And starting off with a bang, Chris Jericho and Claudio Castagnoli for the ROH
Ring of Honor World Championship.
And there has been one world title that has eluded Chris Jericho his whole entire career. It's not winning the ROH title. This was a banger of a match. These two men fought hard and, long in this match between each other. But ultimately, go ahead.
I was going to say, you're probably going to go over the result right now, which, by the way, I think I can probably speak for everybody, shocked the absolute hell out of me because I did not expect it to happen.
I figured there was going to be 3 titles that were going to change hands. Ultimately, of course, there was going to be the world title that was going to, the AEW
that was a
world
guaranteed
title.
Change.
But this being one of them was quite a shocker itself.
Yes. So, Chris Jericho won the Ocho. Chris Jericho is now your new Ring of Honor World Champion.
Yes, he has.
What a crazy thing to say in 2022.
That Chris Jericho would be ROH World Champion. It makes you honestly wonder. And after the match, he's still very conflicted. Daniel Garcia actually high-fives him after the match, which makes you wonder if is he truly with Chris? Is he truly with Bryan Danielson?
We wondered.
I will say this now. I still would like to see. I hope ultimately this becomes a triple threat match for the ROH World Title at Full Gear or something close to it, because I think that would be a great storyline match to head into Full Gear. ROH World Title on the line. Or I don't know, it's a tough one. Or like a tag team match or something like that. Or how about this? Daniel Garcia, whoever wins that ROH World Title match between, I think you have Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho go up against each other. Whoever wins the ROH World Title, Daniel Garcia has to join them.
Okay.
I don't know. It just
that makes the most sense.
I think there's a lot that's going on, conflicted. Daniel Garcia is very conflicted with everything that's going on with JAS or being with the Blackpool Combat Club. I think you need to have something with Daniel Garcia in this. I think ultimately it's going to be Bryan Danielson against Chris Jericho. If it's for the ROH World Title, if it's for something else, I think this is what would make the most sense to have it going to Full Gear. I think this is ultimately the title that Bryan Danielson will win. I think Chris Jericho is just going to be a transitional ROH champion, and that Bryan Danielson will win the ROH World title at Full Gear in Newark, New Jersey. And I think Daniel Garcia is going to turn into a pro wrestler and no longer be the sports entertainer. And here's looking, I hate to say it, Jericho Appreciation Society. I don't know if you can beat Vince Russo when it comes to sports entertainment. If anybody remembers back in the day of NWA TNA, Sex. Sports Entertainment Extreme.
Is that really what it stood for?
Yes. So, Jericho Appreciation Society, too bad most of those guys are older, because I would have loved to have seen Sports Entertainment Extreme against the Jericho Appreciation Society to see who's the better sports entertainers, because they would just write its fucking self.
Well, not only that, it would be great to hear Vince Russo come out one more time and be like, "These are the Sports Entertainers Extreme, bro."
I know, that would be awesome, but ultimately I think that there should be a big payoff with Daniel Garcia.
Yes.
And choosing which one he wants to be with. Does he want to be in Blackpool Combat Club, or does he want to be in Jericho Appreciation Society? So I think that's what they're going to be. But congratulations, Chris Jericho, on being another world champion. 8 times, that's a hell of a feat. Of course, you're not going to be anywhere close to Ric Flair or John Cena, but being halfway there is at least, something.
Yeah.
So the next match, what a hell of a match, man. Tell you what.
They Acclaimed, we just had banger after banger.
The Acclaimed and Swerve Under Glory had one hell of a great match at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Of course, we finally got the Acclaimed actually being able to rap and not getting interrupted, which was nice to see. 2 weeks in a row they got interrupted in Albany and in Buffalo, but this time they were not going to get interrupted. Nothing was going to stand in their way in Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens.
Oh, scissor me, daddy.
Oh, scissor me, daddy. Scissor me, daddy, yes. Yes. The Acclaimed, the Fame, have beat Swerve in our glory to finally
everybody loved the Acclaimed. To finally
end their Cinderella story of being a joke of a tag team and being jobbers on Dark and Dark Elevation to going all the way to being World Tag Team Champions in AEW as a top tag team. What a hell of a Cinderella story for the Acclaimed.
Especially when you consider that they're homegrown.
They are.
They did it on their own. They worked through they've gone through the ranks in the tag team division. Like Jason said, they started out as a kind of a joke team, a team that really wasn't kind of viewed to
right.
But you get what I mean. It's like they came up through the ranks on Dark, then you start seeing them featured more on Dynamite. They're a heel tag team, but then it's in a sense, almost organically, they kind of started, they kind of turned face, and now it's like everybody just can't get enough of the Acclaimed and the whole scissor me.
Right.
So, and especially no one can ever get tired of scissor me daddy ass, especially now that it's a t-shirt available on shopaew.com.
Right. So there's one tag team that might end up standing in the Acclaim's way, and that is 7-Star FTR.
Yeah.
As they want a chance at the AEW World Tag Team titles.
They've been the number one contenders for months.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this now, Tony.
You might as well just give them a tag team title shot.
What are you doing? Why are you wanting to not have FTR? Were you waiting for the Acclaim to be the tag team champs before taking on FTR? Fine. If that's the case, I'm hoping it's going to be a great match at Newark, New Jersey. Full Gear. I want to see FTR versus the Acclaim for the tag team titles. Nothing against the Acclaimed, but it would be nice to see FTR win those tag team titles again.
Yes. The only thing that I can think of as to why they haven't gotten an immediate like tag team title uh like match or whatever is because like Tony probably wanted FTR to be like the front runners for if and when Ring of Honor eventually like brings back weekly television or just in general like starts relaunching their brand. Um,
Yeah, probably, but
so,
uh,
but even just in general too, it's like they're still the number one contender, the number one ranked tag team in AEW, and it's like they're definitely due for a AEW tag team title rematch. So it's like
right. But
just give it to them.
it makes you wonder, could the Gun Club be in FTR's way before facing off for the tag team titles? Because it definitely seemed like it. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what did happen or was going to happen. FTR are going to go up against Gun Club before they get a chance at the tag team titles. So it's going to be interesting who will be in FTR's way first, the Acclaimed, or is it going to be the Gun Club? I think it's going to be the Gun Club being in their way first. They're going to have that impromptu match, and I think that FTR will be on dead set, getting ready to face off for the AEW tag team titles as they are the number one contenders. Um, so we go on to our next segment here. Wheeler comes out and then gets interrupted by MGF.
Wheeler Yuta.
Yes, Wheeler Yuta comes out
Not
and then
Cash Wheeler.
Wheeler Yuta comes out and gets interrupted by MJF, says the devil has arrived in Queens and gets MJF chants. Says the crowd is his devil worshippers and says he never will get an ovation and that, Wheeler Yuta will never get an ovation ever again. MJF says he's a god to these people, says he has standards, and says
like he said, like, oh, I would want to go out with like all your
but
girlfriends
I
and
have
everything, but
standards.
I have standards.
And says he's
And not to mention, he is also engaged.
And says he's a generational talent. Wheeler Yuta says he has some truth to what he says. Says he is a spineless piece of garbage, and will walk out on him like he walked out on the people. Spin out words there. Andrea says he wishes his group good luck, and says they will lose the title to him no matter who wins. Says he can get advice from Danielson about brain injuries, which took it a little too far. And not from Moxley because he's not all there. Can always go up to William Regal and ask him, can you show me how to pop pills? Which really got Wheeler Yuta pissed off. Wheeler then slaps him and MGF headbutts him as this got personal between them, and then Yuta beats the living shit out of him, and then the firm helps MJF beat down Wheeler Yuta. Could it face soon?
Very possible.
I'm thinking so. I'm thinking, honestly, it sucks that Full Gear isn't like, doesn't have like blood and guts or anything like that, or Stadium Stampede, because I would honestly like the Blackpool Combat Club against the Firm heading into Full Gear here, because I think that's what would make the most sense.
Yeah,
especially after that beatdown with Wheeler Yuta.
WWE is getting rid of.
Then again, you could have Wheeler Yuta going up against MJF heading into Full Gear too. So who really knows?
It's possible, but what I was going to say is, it's yeah. So it's too bad that WWE like in a sense isn't really doing the 5-on-5, because it's like, hey, if WWE is gonna get rid of the 5-on-5, then why not have AEW having a 5-on-5 for their pay-per-view in November?
They could. They could be like, haha, you're not gonna use that style? Guess what? We're gonna use it instead.
It's probably just gonna be like a one and done thing though for AEW. At least I hope, because yeah, like nothing against the 5-on-5, but it's just like, yeah. So
who knows? So we go on to our next title match is Pac against Orange Cassidy for the AEW All Atlantic Championship, and this was actually a pretty decent match. Not gonna lie, that Pac and Orange Cassidy do put on great matches with each other. There was moments where I thought that Orange was actually going to win the championship, but ultimately that's not what happened. Pac retains the AEW All-Atlantic Championship. Honestly, not going to lie, I thought this was going to be the title that was going to change hands here. I thought it was Orange Cassidy's time to win a championship in All Elite Wrestling, but fortunately that is not the case, as Pac is still the All-Atlantic Champion. I'm really hoping that they do more things like this going forward with this championship. I think this championship has a lot more promise right now than a TNT championship.
Well, excuse me. Well, that and the FTW championship, which isn't even sanctioned.
I know, but going forward, we get into another fatal four-way match for the AEW Women's Interim World Championship, as Toni Storm faces off against Athena, Britt Baker, and Serena Deeb. And to no real surprise, Toni Storm beats all three of them to retain.
Let's not fail to mention the one thing that did happen in that match, and that was Britt Baker, unfortunately, breaking her nose
for
again.
The third time.
Yes. She just can't catch a break with that nose, man.
No,
but to be fair, it was partly Athena's fault because
exactly.
Athena
kind of sniffed her a little too much.
Well, no. Athena just kind of fell right on her nose.
Right.
Unintentionally, I'm sure. And even
definitely.
just in general, I'm sure Athena didn't plan on landing right on Britt Baker's face. So.
Right.
But.
So.
It kind of happened.
Going forward. Yeah, so Toni Storm does retain the AEW Women's World Championship, and then Britt Baker beats down Toni Storm after the match, and then Jamie Hayter comes down and pulls Britt away, but both of them beat down Toni.
She's her best friend. She would never.
And then Serena Deeb beats down Athena, and then Britt Baker curb stomps Athena, and then Britt Baker looks to put the lockjaw, and then
put on the lockjaw. Some music plays, but whose music is it?
Saraya.
Oh yeah, Saraya. Formerly known as
Paige comes down and gets a big pop. Will she be able to wrestle or be a manager? Of course, we don't know exactly.
I've heard that she will be able to wrestle.
Yes.
But I'm kind of a little weary about it because I don't really know.
I saw bits and pieces. I didn't see the whole thing for her promo, but she said that she was the start of the revolution there, and I'm going to be the revolution. I am the revolution. So I think she's going to be the face of a new revolution for AEW, which desperately needs it badly. Nothing against the AEW women's division. It's very lackluster. But for God's sakes, you have two women's championships that you could be doing more with.
Yeah.
She could be going after a championship itself. As
we apologize for that. Our dog had to go outside.
So, speaking of, was it Saraya? Saraya, sorry. I'm not trying to botch a name. Saraya. I do think that she could, who knows? She could be potentially the one that dethrones Jade Cargill for the TBS championship. Shoot. I mean, you already threw everybody her way and they lost to her, so better
but
than
at the same time,
Saraya?
It's I don't really know how I feel about that. No, it's Saraya.
Saraya, sorry.
But I don't really know how I feel about that because, to me, Saraya is more than being essentially the women's a women's mid-carder.
I get it.
Definitely world champion material. So, if anything, I would say
I would
there
definitely
was a title. But in a sense, I kind of agree with the fact that you kind of have to.
I mean,
like
she's been
in my
away from the
opinion,
craft for a
yes.
couple of years. I
I was
think
gonna
it's
say you
time
got to
for
build
her.
her up.
Yeah, exactly. I think she would make for a great TBS champion. I mean,
Yes.
we see it on the men's side that like the TNT championship before, of course, everything that's going on with that title right now.
It just lost its
It
value.
had so much promise.
Oh, I know.
It was almost as big as the
Yes.
world championship, especially when Cody Rhodes
Oh
was the
yeah.
champion a couple
Cody
different
Rhodes,
times.
Darby Allin,
Hmm.
Brody Lee, you
Exactly.
know,
It just like it had so much value to it. And then
Miro.
now Tony Khan's like, oh, we're just gonna give it to Wardlow because fuck it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, to be fair though, Wardlow could have had a very it feels like ever since like Sammy and Scorpio started feuding over that title, it just seems like Tony Khan hasn't really been able to book the TNT Championship well.
right.
Like he looks at that title and it's like, oh, what do I do with this? Like, what matches do I have with this? It's like, dude, there's a laundry list of potential matches
Right.
that you can have for this championship that you just choose not to.
I know.
So
So we got into the world championship match.
the
Um,
main event for Dynamite Grand
yes,
Slam.
Dynamite Grand Slam. John Moxley faces off against Bryan Danielson, and whoever wins will become the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion. And to big surprise, John Moxley
Yeah,
beats Bryan Danielson to become an official
3 times.
three-time AEW World Champion.
Yes.
I thought, he was technically already a three-time, but now he's officially a three-time AEW World Champion. Um, and MJF was looking quite scared that it was John Moxley instead of Bryan Danielson. What does this mean, Marty? Does this mean that John Moxley might strike fear into the heart of a man that he did face for the world title
Yeah.
before?
It's very possible. I mean, MJF has been beaten by Moxley before in a similar situation for the World Championship, so maybe MJF is starting to second guess, like wanting to cash in,
So
like right then and
do
there.
you think
But
that MJF is going to be like finding like a secret like way to like cash it in when the match has already been you know happening, or do you think that he's going to put it on the line to face Moxley at Full Gear? Like, oh, I'm going to put this on the line, I'm going to face you,
he
Moxley. Or
might
do you
put it
think
on
he's
the
going to
line.
surprise us and then
I was gonna
it's
say
going to
he
be
might do it
somebody?
sooner, or he might do it
Honestly, I think you would see what I can honestly see happening is because I I think Hangman's gonna get his title opportunity very soon or before Full Gear because he
it's
won the
possible.
golden.
Yes,
I don't
he
want to. I
won.
don't want to. We'll get to that, but it wouldn't shock me if Moxley wins and retains, and MGF tries to cash in right then and there after the match. So it could be very possible that MGF ends up winning it that night, and then having a rematch MGF versus Moxley for the title. This time MGF as the champion, heading into Full Gear. It could be possible.
Yeah.
But congratulations, John Moxley, official three-time world champion. I will tell you, man, he is looking good.
Yeah.
And we're gonna take another quick break. And when we come back, we will talk about Rampage Grand Slam. All right, everybody, we are back from that little break there. We're letting our dog in. So we are on to Rampage Grand Slam. Sting and Darby facing off against the House of Black. They've had some ties with each other. They've been bickering back and forth. I don't think that whole rivalry is done and over with yet. But Sting and Darby, man, what a great match against the House of Black. They really brought it, the energy in this no disqualification match. There was just some great spots in this. Some interesting table spots there with Brody King, uh, you know, jumping with Darby into the table.
Yeah, Darby ended up getting a really nice big gash,
and
like,
then
right across his, like, head.
Sting beating up on um, Buddy Matthews there, but ultimately Sting and Darby beat the House of Black with the help of the great Muda, by the
Yes,
way.
he spat the green mist in the face of Buddy Matthews. Buddy Matthews then was like blindly like, ah, bumps right into Julia. Julia goes flying,
God,
hits the back of her head, essentially like on the concrete.
That's why we
just missed the table.
That's why we're hoping Darby and Julia are all right after the really bad bumps. It seems like they are, and they're going to be fine. I know Julia Hart is
okay.
Is okay.
Darby more than likely is okay.
Okay, he's probably got some stitches.
That man can survive. That man can probably survive death
and still come back. Yeah. So, congratulations to Darby, Darby Allin and Sting as they beat the House of Black. But I don't think this is truly over with yet between both of them. Man, we're getting on to the next match. Hook and Action Bronson facing off against Matt Menard and Angelo Parker.
He impressed me.
Yeah.
He really did impress me.
Action Bronson did impress me too. He looked like he was poised.
I was telling he has Marty, what it takes.
I think if he was ever to not stop rapping, I think that he would definitely have a career as a professional wrestler. He looked really good in the ring. He moves around well for a big dude. He really does.
Yes, he does.
So,
not to mention he's got the strength needed to be a big man.
And no surprise, Hook and Action Bronson beat Matt Menard and Angelo Parker.
Yeah.
In this match. And then Samoa Joe and Wardlow facing off against Josh Woods and Tony Nese. We really have to explain much. Samoa Joe and Wardlow beat Josh Woods and Tony Nese. And then both of them got very salty about their loss. They beat Samoa Joe down after the match. And then Wardlow beats down Josh Woods, and then Mark Sterling hits him with a title. Runs into Samoa Joe, and then throws him into Wardlow, and finally gets powerbombed multiple times.
The Powerbomb Symphony has arrived in Queens, New York.
Man, what a great moment there for Samoa Joe and Wardlow. But I don't think this is the last time you're going to see Samoa Joe and Wardlow. I think eventually they're going to face off for the TNT Championship. But it makes me wonder, when the hell is Jay Lethal going to get his opportunity to get a rematch against Wardlow? That man has gotten granted a rematch from Wardlow himself. Tony Khan, when are you going to pull the trigger and have them face off against each other? Or is it just like, well, he asked for the rematch and now it's kind of like, sorry, we kind of wrote that off. No, it's going to not actually happen, because if so, that's lame to have happen.
Unless he's waiting for Full Gear.
It could be possible. Who knows?
But if that's the case, then there better be a big ass payoff, and you better have Jay Lethal actually win that championship.
Right, I know
and
exactly.
Actually do things with that championship for Mr. Jay Lethal.
Right. So going forward, these two men are no strangers to each other. Ray Phoenix and Jungle Boy always have some great matches, whether it's with Jurassic Express against the Lucha Brothers or on singles competition. But Jungle Boy beats Ray Phoenix, and then Christian Cage's music plays, which I was quite shocked about. I thought they were done with each other, but clearly not. And he comes out, and Luchasaurus beats down Jungle Boy in the ring, and Christian Cage says he wants New York to shut up while he conducts his business. Said he squashed his ass at the last pay-per-view at All Out. And says Jungle Boy will never one-up him and never beat him. Says he doesn't want him to come back next week. Wants Luchasaurus to end him right then and there, and gives him a choke slam. Safe to say this rivalry isn't over with.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that is very true, because Jungle Boy did talk this past episode of Dynamite and says it is clearly far from over between these two. I'm not going to lie, I don't mind the continuation of storylines in AEW. As far as that goes, don't have it go for multiple different months, 8 or 9 freaking months like WWE does. If you want to extend it a little bit more into another pay-per-view and ultimately just end it right then and there, fine. but just have it as that. Don't continue it until it just gets dull in the brain.
Right.
So I don't mind this rivalry. I think there's a lot that should go to it. I really do think that Jungle Boy should find a tag team partner to face off against Christian Cage and Luchasaurus. But
I mean, I don't know who else he can get besides
especially if it heads into Full Gear and Christian Cage is still not 100%, I
yeah.
think that there needs to be, even if it's Luchasaurus versus Jungle Boy at Full Gear, I think that would still make sense too. But ultimately, I would like to see a tag team match. Um, I'm pretty sure Jungle Boy can see something. It sucks that Marco Stunt isn't involved with AEW anymore because I think that would be an interesting match to see is Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt versus Christian Cage and Luchasaurus, even though I know Marco Stunt is like
I was
5
gonna say, yeah.
foot
The
nothing.
only, well, that's the thing too is he's been done with AEW for a while now, but even still, like he's the only one that makes sense, like storyline wise. I don't see why Tony Khan couldn't like renegotiate a deal with Marco Stunt, even if it's like a 1 day appearance or whatever from Marco Stunt. Like it would make the most sense because
Right.
Marco Stunt has been like pretty much the forerunner of Jurassic Express since like the beginning. He's almost like the unofficial mascot of Jurassic Express. So
Right. Exactly. So and this is where I say about Daniel Garcia because then on Rampage he says he wants to be serious and talk during the celebration. The thoughts
they
on
will
that one?
they will talk during the celebration.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
I have no idea what they are going to talk about, but it's safe to say it
well, I
will be
definitely had
about like
something with
where
Bryan Danielson, so I really do think that
yeah.
Bryan Danielson and Chris Jericho are going to have some kind of thing going into Full Gear. I think it's ultimately going to be for the ROH World Championship.
And then we could possibly see Bryan Danielson have one more run with the Ring of Honor World Title. I mean,
That
that would
would be
be
cool.
something.
I mean, I
And
was about to
even
say, if you want to give him any world title, give him an ROH world title. I mean, you don't. I get it. I would like to see him win the AEW world title eventually one
yes,
times, but if it ends up being the ROH world championship before then, that's fine too. But who knows? Uh, then Eddie Kingston faces off against Sammy Guevara. Um, this was a weird one because Eddie Kingston originally beat Sammy Guevara, but then Paul Turner reverses the decision and Sammy Guevara wins by disqualification because Eddie Kingston is not letting go of the hold past like I think the 5 count or
yeah.
something like that, and then Sammy Guevara actually wins instead by disqualification after raising the hand and everything. Like I'm shocked and odd about like what even happened in this match. Like it was all right to the point, but like I just like why would you just switch the decision? Just have the the one that originally won win, and then not change the decision because of disqualification. It just makes that just made my mind like, what are you doing?
I mean, it is possible that like referees can overturn
Well, I mean, I
a
get that, but
decision, but
still,
like
like,
yeah,
what was
it's
the
kind
whole
of
like? What was
shocking that
Tony
like
Khan like
yeah.
thinking like a thing like that to have happen for a match between these two? Like, it was just randomly put together. Like, oh, I'm not, I have beef with Sammy Guevara. Oh, let me face off against you at Rampage. Like, it just made absolutely no sense. It was just a
Yeah.
match of just thrown together anyway. So,
Well, I mean, I'm sure it would have happened like sooner, but the two men were suspended. So I'm sure it probably would have even happened at All Out. But like I said, the two men were suspended. So,
oh no shit.
um,
As we've, that's funny. Well, I mean, so going forward, Jade Cargill, you know, faces off against Diamante. I don't think that. I mean, there's not really much to talk. She does beat Diamante to retain the TBS championship, and then goes to 38-0. And then Trina turns on Diamante to align herself with Jade Cargill. She seems to be part of the baddies, but you're just gonna literally give her you're literally gonna give Jade Cargill almost a whole entire women's roster at this point, and it's just gonna keep on beating them. That's why I think that Saraya would be the most. It would make the most sense to have her beat Jade Cargill. I think it would make the most sense because if you want to build a revolution, have her as your champion.
Yeah.
Because then you can build around her, which like you did in WWE, you built around Paige.
Yeah, exactly.
In AEW, this is going to be something because if she ends up winning the championship, she will be she should just be in both AEW and WWE Hall of Fames for creating a revolution in both companies for the women's division.
I mean, granted, I think that's if AEW ever has the Hall of Fame.
And however, I'm pretty sure they will eventually.
However, if we're gonna go there, the inaugural inductee should be Brody Lee.
Oh yeah, I think the first one in.
Has to be.
Honestly, I would definitely like to see I think Chris Jericho would make the most sense. I know he's still, in AEW, but I think Chris Jericho would make the most sense because he was your inaugural AEW World Champion, and he was basically the one that helped a lot of that young talent. He basically carried AEW for the first few years. Being a company, right. He was the one. He was the driving force. He was the one that. I'm going to lead you to the mountain, just, follow my lead. And that's why AEW is the company that it is because of Chris Jericho. So if there was to be a Hall of Fame, I say your two first members, or maybe few, or the first few members I think should be Chris Jericho and Brody Lee.
Yeah. Well, not to mention, in a sense, Chris Jericho is basically the locker room leader for AEW.
Right.
Which, I mean, who better to have as a locker room leader than an established veteran like Chris Jericho, who has spent 20 plus years in the business. So.
Right. So we go on to the second to last match of the night as Hangman Adam Page
Golden Ticket Battle Royale
wins the Golden Ticket Battle Royale to get a future title shot, and could it be against MJF?
It's very possible.
Who knows?
Either way, now Moxley has two targets on his back.
I didn't even think about it because, Juice Robinson is facing off against Jon Moxley. That would have been an interesting, thing to have happen, after that match, that Eliminator match.
Yeah.
To have MJF, put the cash in and then win it. And then
Moxley is already
and then somehow Adam Hangman Page faces off against MJF at Full Gear. Now that would have been something. I mean, it wouldn't have probably been the greatest match in the world, but it still would have been a match to see.
It would definitely draw though, because because MJF is a draw, no matter how you look at it.
Right.
MJF is a draw, whether people want to admit it or not. MJF is a damn draw for AEW. People love to hate him. That's the thing. And it's funny too because MJF is such an old school heel that people pay to see him get his ass kicked.
Right.
And that's what, heels were back in the day. So.
But yeah. Congratulations to Adam Hangman Page. I mean, he gets another opportunity at the world title that he was a great world champion, and I honestly,
he was a decent world champion.
I'll say that. Yeah. So.
But if you ask me, they should have never had him lose to CM Punk.
No, I don't think so either. Then going on to the main event of Rampage, we have Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs in a lights out match. Yeah. Well, it certainly did have that feeling. They brought the energy.
Oh, it was a literal lights out match too.
Yeah, it was. As Ricky Starks took the light fixture, beat up Powerhouse Hobbs and beat him with a Rochambeau. Congratulations, Ricky Starks. You finally get redemption, but I don't think this is far from over between these two men.
Oh no. But the best part about that lights out match is like it doesn't affect either man's record.
Yeah, which is nice
So
because
that's really the best way that you can go about that because, you know, you don't want Powerhouse Hobbs to lose in like a way that's gonna hurt him.
right,
But you also don't want Ricky Starks to lose in a way that's gonna hurt him. So
true,
what better way to like protect both men and their records than by having a lights out match where it doesn't affect the record.
right? Who knows? So, everybody, that's going to conclude this episode of No Final Bell. Please make
Bit of a
sure.
lengthy one today.
Yeah, a little bit of a lengthier one. I didn't expect it to be as long as it was of an episode, but honestly, we did go over some great points here.
Yeah.
Went over like who won and continuing storylines for AEW heading to Full Gear. I honestly think that Full Gear is going to be a great pay-per-view in Newark, New Jersey. Of course, make sure to follow us on social media at Tinkle Sports. As always, you always want to make sure to follow that YouTube channel, Tinkle Sports Entertainment, as we have quite a different shows. So if you don't want to always watch this one, we have Out of Turn 4. We have Sunday morning Tinkle. Of course, every Sunday at 9 a.m. We have Out of Turn 4 every Tuesday at 5. Of course, it's eventually getting into out of the season. Congratulations to Jimmy Johnson, officially retiring from the sport of NASCAR, 7-time world champion.
Had a hell of a career in there.
And all I know is Tom Brady should take some notes because he's also a 7-time world champion and he's sticking around and not playing so well in his 21st, I think, season or something like that, if I remember correctly. I think he needs to call it quits and go back to his wife and make her happy and stuff like that. So, and then of course, Sunday morning Tinkle, we talk about that crappy Buffalo Miami game. A few more news of NBA, CJ McCollum re-signing with signing a contract extension with the Pelicans and a few other things that are happening. Aaron Judge, congratulations. I know I'm not no Yankees fan, but 61 home runs, tying the record. Who knows? By the time this is, uploaded, he could have broken the record. Who the hell knows? But yeah, I think congratulations to him. I think that he's guaranteed the MVP award at this point. I think he should. The man's going to definitely be a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
Yankees have always had some great talent. Babe Ruth, A-Rod, Derek Jeter, now Judge. They've had some generational talent on the Yankees.
I can tell you right now, Giancarlo Stanton is probably going to be the next one.
Who knows? But yeah, of course, always we have more of that content on Tinkle Sports Entertainment. So as always, everyone, we will see you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.